live?
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Jared with Kill Devil Diesel, and we are here live with Engine Builder Magazine. We have the great honor and privilege of taking over their Instagram feed today, and we are hanging out here in the media room here at Kill Devil Diesel. For those of you that don't know, we are a diesel engine and components specialist. We build hundreds of engines a year, and we sell thousands of engine components, cylinder heads, camshafts, etc. a year. And kind of hang out here for a minute while we wait for a few more people to join. We did recently release our Icon series cylinder heads. This is a raw casting here. It's just been cubed. This is a finished piece here. It's been over-anged, ready to assemble. These are a performance cylinder head that we brought to market. We'll go over more of these when we get over to the production shop. This is our media room. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes look here. Look under the hood. This is where we keep some of our PRI displays, some of our cutaway engines. So we take some of our website pictures, keep some of our spare junk, race car stuff. So this is where we've filmed other podcasts. We've done other other interviews and stuff in here, and it's a work in progress. But we got a lot of new videos, a lot of how-to, a lot of tech stuff that we're going to bring you from this room as well later this year, early next year. And thank you guys for following. So if you want, we can start heading over this way. This is, like I said, our media room. This is part of our main office here. Come in here to basically our break room, a company kitchen. A lot of the guys will bring their lunch with them and eat in here. It's our conference room with vendors and customers and stuff that comes in here. Got a few of our orders laid out as we sort through, different orders. Our t-shirts and some of our order fulfillment stuff in here. This is our sales office. Many of you called in and spoke to Lauralee. Lauralee's been with us for, about 6 months now. So this is where Doyle works. Doyle's behind the camera. But this is where Doyle works on and off. He also works in the shop. We've had the great privilege of working with Engine Builder Magazine on a few different projects now over the years. We had the great honor of winning their 2019 Diesel Engine Shop of the Year award. And since then we've done several other articles with them. I did an article here on our Icon heads. That was Charlie Keeter, one of our customers from a few years ago that won the Diesel Power Challenge. We did a interview with them with Engine Builder Magazine on monster truck engines. Previous to working here with Kill Devil Diesel, before we started this, I was an engine builder for Monster Jam. We are located on the same property as a Gravedigger monster truck, some of you know. We'll get into more of that here in a minute. Fun fact, this office actually used to be Dennis Anderson's house. Then after that, it was offices for Monster Jam. And then after that, it's our office. We've got some more of their sales offices and stuff down the hallway, engineering. My office is down there. But this is our main sales office. You might call in and talk to Doyle or Lauralee. You might also call in and talk to Jillian or Parker. Parker works in the shop. We'll see him in a minute. But Jillian, she works remotely. And then Parker works in the shop. He also does tech support. So this is, like I said, we're on the same property as all the Gravedigger stuff. Never a dull moment. And actually, you can hear Mr. Anderson he's got a King Sling Extreme Ride truck that they do. You can actually go for a ride with Dennis Anderson. You might hear them in the background. They're giving rides today. It's a real deal, 1,500 horsepower monster truck. It's never a dull moment. So we do Power Wheels rides here for kids. Kids come. We're on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, just outside of Kill Devil Hills, hence the name Kill Devil Diesel. And so it's kind of a popular vacation destination. We get people from all over the U.S. to come down to the beach and stop here for the Gravedigger stuff. Most of them don't even know we're here, but we're here. Got some of this is actually my old personal 6-liter truck. It's kind of become a developmental vehicle. If we got something new we want to try for Kill Devil Diesel, we'll try it out on there first before we release it to the public. It's kind of been a guinea pig, so it gets used hard. This is might be able to see if we pan over. And then 2 seats in the back, and it's a real 1,500 horsepower. They go over jumps, and he breaks parts on that just as bad as he did in Gravedigger. So it's a real deal. It's a real ride. So anyway, this is the front shop where the Gravedigger stuff started, and they're turning that into a museum of we have time at the end of this, we'll try and take a peek up there and show you guys some of what Dennis has going on back there. This is, as I said, I was formerly an engine builder for Monster Jam, and was doing diesel stuff on the side, and started the Kill Devil Diesel company. And through a lot of those relationships through Monster Jam, we had a lot of great relationships for cylinder head castings, crankshafts, connecting rods, all sorts of great relationships. It really helped us get started. I started back here with Richard Midget, building blown alcohol engines, and learned a heck of a lot from him on, organization, engine building, and what it takes to keep an engine in one of those things, one of the monster trucks, what it takes to keep one of those alive for, as long as possible anyway. So this is the main engine shop here where we started. We actually started in the other half of that shop, and then have since moved into this building. But that's still where they build and dyno all the 1,500 horsepower monster truck engines. And like I said, we were in there for first year or two. Doyle was with us back then, and Richard's still back there building engines for Monster Jam now. When COVID happened, a lot of the guys from Monster Jam, they stopped doing shows and stuff, and a lot of the guys from Monster Jam, who I had worked with, previously, came off the road from Monster Jam either as techs or technicians or engine builders, some of the guys that I used to work with every day. And we're really fortunate a lot of those same guys came to work with us here for Kill Devil Diesel, and a really good group of guys. If you want, we'll go inside and meet them. This is our main production facility here. We've got warehousing in the back that we keep cores and stuff in. This is kind of where everything started. Parker, some of y'all might have called in and spoke to Parker before.
Hi all.
Parker's one of our cylinder head technicians. Andy's one of our machinists. Everything pretty much comes in the door here. Whether it's pallets of new heads, whether it's core engines, everything pretty much comes in the door here, and kind of a holding pattern here, where we then kind of get our mess together and figure out where it's going to go through the process. New cylinder heads come in and get queued up here on carts, and go through the machining process over there. We'll come back to that in just a minute. The engine side route. Engines come in. These are already engines that have been disassembled, that are waiting to be QC'd, waiting to be, final cleaned, evaluated. Engines come in like this one here. Some customers send us their engine to rebuild. Some customers, just want to buy one of our engines and send a core in later. Either way is fine. We also do custom one-off, race car stuff. So when we get core engines back, sometimes we get them with everything but the bumper hanging on them. Sometimes if we buy them from a core supplier, it's just a stripped short block. This is just one of our bulk cores. This will get disassembled. We throw away a lot. We don't reuse camshafts. We don't reuse lifters or push rods or rockers. We put all new Valvetrain into every engine. And speaking of Valvetrain, I forgot to mention earlier, SBI, they're a great partner of ours. SBI is actually a sponsor of these Instagram takeovers here with Engine Builder Magazine. They've been an excellent partner of ours. So a lot of the Valvetrain components that we use actually come from SBI. So thank you to SBI for the opportunity for the Engine Builder takeover, and so they've been an excellent partner. We'll touch base on some of the SBI products we use here in a minute. So we don't keep, we don't reuse anything. Basically, we're after the block, the crank, maybe the rods, and even then they get new pin bushings. So after the engines get disassembled, they go through a chemical cleaning tank. We don't use abrasives because for a few reasons. The abrasives texture, they rough up all the gaseous surfaces. Also, then you have to get all of the contamination back out. So for right now, we use a chemical process that strips all of the grease off of the blocks, and we have a rust tank here that chemically removes all the rust. The advantage there is the rust tank will get in areas where a blaster won't. So deep down into the water jacket, a blaster only gets basically line of sight, where that will get in every nook and crevice, of the block. Or heads or whatever it is. We do a lot of, we call it walk-in heads or local machine shop heads, where we deal with a lot of great shops around here, Perry's Diesel, Griffith's Diesel, Twisted Diesel, a couple of our local dealers here that we work with. They'll bring us heads that we go through, and we'll rebuild them. So a lot of people come to us for our new cylinder heads, either cast iron or new aluminum heads, but we also do reman work. A lot of people don't know, but we also offer reman heads as well. So after the heads come through here, Andrew here has been with us for a long time as well. Andrew is prepping the block right now, and just going over all the gaseous surfaces, making sure there's no burrs, inspecting all the threads. That's where we also do the pressure testing, magnifluxing if I didn't mention that. After the blocks are done there, they've kind of been QC'd, and then over this big cord. If it's not a good cord, it goes back in the scrap bin. So after the blocks get queued, they get signed and lined up here, and they get queued up for machining. And so the blocks come over here for their finish machining here. Andy's got one in here now, just about finished up. And where are you at with this one, Andy?
It's, we're just engraving our name in the top of it. We serialize and put our name on every block that comes out that goes through the machine. After we do all the blueprinting and the boring and like rough boring here, and then it goes over to our honing.
So we have in this machine, so this machine we use, we got last year from RMC. RMC's been another great partner. This machine does all of our blueprinting. So by that we mean it has a probe that comes down and touches off on all the key datum points of the engine. And so, measures the deck height, the cylinder bores, and when we machine them, when we bore the cylinder, sometimes through wear, through sloppy factory tolerances, whatever it might be, the cylinders might have shifted or might not be in exactly the right place as per the blueprint. So when we bore it, we actually bore the cylinders back to the blueprint, and then we square deck the top of the block, square even to the mains. So our fixture, you can see on that block, our fixture has a bar that goes through the mains, which is kind of the heart of the engine. So the mains are all squared to the machine onto a rotary table there, the yellow piece that rotates the block back and forth. And so anyway, the machine will come down and automatically probe all the cylinders, probe the deck surface, and then we'll select the bore size based on either what the block will take to clean up the wear in the cylinders or piston availability. And so this is one that we'll engrave them. This is branding, identification. Then we'll put a serial number in them as well. This one here is kind of in the final hook strip. We'll also use this machine for line boring. We have a 90-degree boring head that'll go into that spindle there, and we'll line bore it for billet steel main caps and or line bore for spun bearings. We also do all of our piston machining in there. We machine and coat several hundred pistons a week. So we have a different fixture that we put in there for milling valve reliefs or delifting pistons and stuff, or even just milling 10 or 20 off the top of a piston to help set the compression height. And after the blocks are done here, they come over here for honing. These are all blocks that are ready to go into the cylinder hone here. The blocks all get torque plate honed. We get a lot of questions about this. A torque plate is basically a device here that simulates the stress of the head bolts. So in other words, when we bore the cylinders in the CNC machine, they're round. But when you torque the head to it, especially on like 6.0, 6.4 stuff where there's only 4 head bolts per cylinder, 4 big head bolts per cylinder, it'll really distort the cylinders out of round. And so, what we want to do is have the distortion set when we hone it so it's round. That way, obviously when it runs up and down the road, it has the head bolted to it. That way, the round ring seals in a round cylinder. And so, anyway, we torque plate hone all the blocks. This is got this a couple years ago from Sunnin. It's a partial CNC machine, so it'll hone the size. We check it. We check RVK, RPK, which is your cylinder surface measurements, and find our profilometer. They must have it in the other department. But anyway, we'll check the RVK, RPK. That's really critical. The surface finish. If you were to look at the cylinder finish under a microscope, when you hone it with a stone, it's one of our honing stones here. It's a smooth stone. We use a diamond stone that they cut really, really well. Sometimes we'll finish with an old vitrified stone. And we'll also finish with a plateau brush. These are like nylon with an abrasive built into them, basically. And so, what we're trying to do those to achieve the most desirable surface finish, for any given application. Race car stuff, you need a lot deeper crosshatch in the block to hold oil to help the rings and everything live at high boost, high fuel, nitrous, all the cylinder pressure, triple turbo, UCC stuff. So street car stuff, you don't want to run that much RVK. You can run into oil consumption issues and stuff. So for our street car stuff, we kind of stick to pretty close to what the factory has. After the blocks come out of the cylinder hone, they come over here to the line hone. The line hone every block. What that does is it runs this mandrel here through the mains of the block. And what that does is ensure that all the mains are in a line with each other. And then we also check them with a bore gauge to make sure that they're all the same size. And the only case we might not do that is if we put new caps on a block and we line bore it. In which case, once it's line bored, then it's good to go. We don't have to line hone it. Otherwise, every block is line honed. So So over here we have kind of our small parts, our rods. Our rods, between the rods over here. This is Liam. Liam's been with us for a year and some change now. He's working on some, looks like 6.4, 6.0 rods. And so he's resizing rods here, and we'll put new fin bushings in them. We'll go through and touch hone and make sure they're round, and or open them up to an oversized bearing. Then Nathan's also been with us for a little over a year. He's polishing the crank. Looks like he's polishing cranks today. Nathan has been running our balancing equipment. Liam does a lot of our powder coating, piston coating. He's also run our cylinder hones and stuff before. And so Nathan does our balancing. And so what are you working on?
Just polishing up a 6-liter crank. Trying to make sure all the mains are the same size, all the rod journals are the same size. Make sure everything's nice and flat, no grooves or anything in there. And
yeah,
get it straight through the front.
The bearing surface is really critical, between the surface finish of the bearing, the surface finish of the crank. Really, really critical. It can't have any taper to the rod, any lines, any debris, etc. Balancing, balance all the cranks to generally a tighter tolerance than the factory had. And so for balancing, for those that don't know, so you make up a bob weight that simulates the weight of the rod and piston assembly, and then you clamp those to the rod, you spin the crank, and that tells you where the imbalance is, basically just like balancing a tire. CWT, Randy Neal has been excellent to work with, and we've gotten a lot of use out of this machine in a couple of years that we've had it. And so, particularly if it's aftermarket rods, or make a big change to the piston and the rotating weight, and even aftermarket flex plates and stuff, they have a lot of places advertise stuff as a drop-in, and even if the weight is the same, a lot of times you find that the phasing of the weight, is not. Even if the total imbalance is the same, a lot of times you find that the phasing of the weight is not the same. And so, anyway, we balance everything, check it for. You'd be surprised sometimes. And Randy Neal, who works at CWT, quoted as saying sometimes the factory has a sense of humor, when it comes to balancing, and he's right. We get stuff that's 40, 50 grams out sometimes. That's pretty much our block machining, cranks, rods. It pretty much goes through the same process. The blocks have a tag that goes with the block that we keep them in these sleeves here. But from the point that they're torn down, we issue a serial number for the block, and this kind of becomes like a birth certificate for the block, and that basically measures the everything when it comes in the door, the bore size, deck height, etc., any notes on problems or any special treatment that it needs, O-rings, sleeves, etc., and then the guys here, as they machine the parts, they will they'll make note of the bore size, the deck height, the cylinder wall surface finish, and when all that goes up front to assembly, and ultimately the customer gets that, just in transparency, the customer gets that with their engine. Sleeves, this is our sleeve press, also from RMC. This has been super handy. In the past, we've experimented with liquid nitrogen and heating the block up, cooling the sleeves down, and it's kind of more trouble than it's worth, really. We have the sleeve, it would shrink with like liquid nitrogen or dry ice or even just a freezer. Then the sleeve would basically drop in, which is great, but then the sleeve grows again and you got to press it down again anyway. So we work with RMC, and they got us set up with this sleeve press. And basically we take a sleeve like this one here. We only use top flame sleeves. That way the head gasket seals on the sleeve, and there's no chance of blown combustion in between the sleeve and the block. So we use the top flame sleeve. It's a ductile iron sleeve that we have made just for us. These have been invaluable. Sometimes it's done as a repair, or sometimes sleeving a block can have a bad connotation to it from people that have botched the repair in the past. That's why we only use the top flame sleeve. We have seen semi-frequently we get blocks in that have been machined, rebuilt elsewhere, and it's just a straight wall sleeve with no flange, and the sleeve will drop, and then the head gasket leaks. And anyway, so some of that's what can give sleeves a bad connotation, but truthfully, these are actually an upgrade over the factory cylinder walls. The ductile structure of the sleeve is actually better than that of the gray iron block, and so they have a higher burst strength, a higher tensile strength. It's a tougher material. And so if it's going to be north of 12, 13, 14, 1500 horsepower, we pretty much recommend a sleeve, and/or depending, UCC, diesel power challenge, that kind of stuff, whether it's a filled block, or in this case, this is going to be a wet block for potentially a UCC customer. But this is we'll machine the sleeve, or we'll machine the block rather. To accept the sleeve, we machine a counter bore here. and then you can see the sleeve presses down into the block there. Obviously it's not the right sleeve for this block, but it'll press down into the cylinder wall there, and you know, the register of the flange will register into the groove there. And then we machine everything flat. We'll cut the O-ring groove in the sleeve, and the press does a great job of keeping everything square. And you can see this uses our same fixture, our same bar here. That way it comes right out of the machine, right into the press, and everything presses square to the mains, and that way there's no, you know, we're not thumping them in with a hammer. This is our optical tool setter we use for setting up all of our cutters and stuff. Of course, micrometer, 4 gauges. Andy is looks like doing a run of 7.3 heads here.
Just resurfacing.
These for KTV heads, or these walking heads?
These are our actual heads.
Okay. So, yep.
Clean up all the surfaces, go through intake, deck surface, exhaust surface, clean it up.
Make sure it's ready to take a new gasket. You know, a lot of times over time the gasket will either sink into the head, or you'll have some rust and erosion, especially on 7.3s. You know, they run so long, we get, you know, sometimes we get pores, you know, that we don't use, where the exhaust manifold surface is like paper thin just from having 800,000 miles on it up north, whatever. And so, you know, we have to resurface, you know, the intake side, the exhaust side, of course the deck surface. And then some of them we O-ring. We've actually had some popularity with O-ring and 7.3 heads. A lot of times traditionally they've been fire ring. We've started O-ringing them with an MLS gasket. It's actually been pretty popular. There's a lot less retorque and everything. The O-ring has been super popular for 606-4 stuff for a long time, which of course came from the factory with an MLS gasket. We get questions all the time, what's the difference between an O-ring and a fire ring? We can get into more of that in a minute up front maybe, but we get to assembly. Basically in an O-ring setup, we've got some heads here. These have been O-ringed, it looks like. That has an O-ring wire in it that protrudes from the deck surface, about 8 thousandths. Whereas a fire ring, any heads have been fire ringed here, Handy? Oh, okay. Well, there we go, it's handy. So Parker, here, some of y'all might have spoke to Parker for like technical support, technical sales, and he also, like I said, one of our cylinder head machinists. And so this head here has been fire ringed. So instead of a 40 thousandths wire, like the other 6-liter head we just showed you, this is like 105 thousandths diameter wire. And sometimes it'll be just in the head, sometimes we'll split it between the head and the block on higher horsepower applications. Pros and cons though, the MLS gasket, a multi-layer gasket with an O-ring, seems to work pretty good. You kind of set it and forget it, you torque it down and you're good to go. We sell thousands of heads that way a year, and they work really, really well at preventing some of the head gasket problems like 606-4. Fire rings work great too. We've had better luck with fire rings on a 6-bolt per cylinder application like a 7.3, a Cummins, you know, that just works pretty good. However, there is some more install work, a little bit more labor intensive, where you install the head on the engine, get it up to temp, and then you have to retorque it again, and you drive it around the block, and then you got to retorque it again, and you drive for a tank of fuel, and you got to retorque it again. And that's a lot of taking the valve covers on and off.
Yeah, none of that with an O-ring design.
Yeah.
Don't have to do no hot recourse. So that's part about the O-ring design.
Yeah.
For the installers, part of it.
And they work good. We've had, you know, an increasing number of customers go into O-rings on the 7.3 heads instead of the fire rings, basically for that reason. Parker goes through, and when we rebuild a set of 7.3 heads, our KDD 7.3 heads come standard with, you know, all new guides, all new seats, all new valves, all new springs. So we, you know, and we also do, like I mentioned earlier, you know, reman heads for, you know, local repair shops, local customers. We've had customers ship us heads from all over the country that have be rebuilt. SBI, again, they've been a great partner. We use their guides, we use a lot of their seats. You know, we even use some of their valves and stuff in assembly. But when we go through and set up and put new seats and guides in either our 7.3 heads or some of the walk-in, you know, whether Caterpillar, Cummins, whatever comes through the door, you know, oftentimes it's an SBI product we use. So thanks again to SBI. They've been you know, an excellent partner. They've done custom stuff for us too. You know, specify different material. They've been an excellent distributor. They have a lot of relationships in the world, and have gotten us exactly what we needed. So thanks to SBI again for the opportunity with the Engine Build Magazine takeover. And follow SBI, follow Engine Builder Magazine. They've been great partners of ours. And so Parker will machine the heads for guides. He'll machine a seat pocket.
Just finished that up, and I'm in the process of checking the clearance from the seat.
We'll walk through. This is something that we check on every head. So we have a valve setting fixture here. a dial bore gauge, basically a mini version of what we use for checking the cylinders.
So we were set up on here already. We're gonna go over here, check our clearances.
Generally speaking, we're looking on a regular street application, we're looking for about 2 thousandths, 2 to 2.5 thousandths valve to guide clearance. If it's going to be like a filled head, filled block, race car application, obviously we'll run a little bit looser guide clearance. But for street car stuff, we'll do 2.5 thousandths valve to guide clearance works really good. So,
Good to go.
and then once that's checked, then he'll start. So you got to do the guide work first, because the guide, of course, is what locates the seat. So once the guide work is done, then he'll come back and he'll machine a counter bore here. Sometimes we'll do that for certain applications in the CNC machine. Sometimes we'll do it here with some of the different cutters here. This is going to film some of your seat guides from in there.
Yeah, this is basically what's going to be. I've already set up here the
Perfect.
counter
Yeah.
bore out, and that's my next step now. I was just checking clearances before I went to put the pilot in, so now I'll be counter boring them out and installing the
I'm going to press
seats.
a valve seat insert. So this is an SPI seat, and like I said, we've had great luck with these. It's actually, so from the factory, a lot of heads like a 7.3, a lot of the 12 valve heads, a lot of the early 24 valve heads, and then all the 6064 heads, they came with what's called an integral valve seat. What that means is the valve seat area is really just machined right into the gray iron cylinder head. And so gray iron is not particularly hard material, it doesn't last very long. It'll actually beat the, let's see, this one's not pretty bad. Yeah, this one's not too bad, but a lot of the cores that come in, instead of having your crisp like 3-angle valve job, it'll just beat those angles to mush. And so the factory will heat treat the cast iron, and it makes it really hard, which is good, but also makes it brittle, so then sometimes they crack, where you can get a lot better metallurgy out of a valve seat. So by pressing in an insert, we can have both the longevity and the wear and the hardness characteristics that we want, without affecting when the factory pours a casting, it has to be a pourable casting. In other words, they have to have a metal makeup, just like making a cake. They have to have a metal makeup with a casting when they pour the casting into the mold for this. That is going to flow, do all the things they want. But they're kind of limited. They can't make that as hard as they want, otherwise you end up with worse cracking issues. And so, anyway, after the heads are done here, they'll get a valve job. We'll do either a 3, 5, 7 multi-angle radius, valve job, depending on the application. We do oversized valves and seats and stuff. We have a lot of products on our website. We have others that are not a standard listing. Any questions, feel free to give us a call, and we'll Parker. We're going behind again, and pretty much we'll probably be the very most. We'll be happy to help get you squared away on any custom stuff.
Absolutely.
After everything is final machined here, it'll go through our wash tank here. These are all basically engine builds. Each engine build gets its own part. And so, particularly if it's like a customer engine build or something custom that we're not building out of our core or bolt core stuff, each engine build will get its own part, and it'll go through the whole process, and every nut and bolt will stay together. And then we'll work up front. We'll stop in our parts room for a second. After all the stuff gets machined, either through final block machining or final head machining, it goes through final cleaning, and then works its way up there to assembly. This is our parts room here. This is Andy. Used to work with us at Monster Jam. So did most of the guys back there, I forgot to mention. But Andy used to work with us at Monster Jam. Now he works with us here at Phil Devil Diesel, and does a great job keeping us stocked up on parts. And despite all the challenges with COVID and everything else, so Andy's been great. So we'll walk you through our parts room here. We stock pretty much what we need for engines. We sell a lot of other pistons and overhaul kits. So we try to stock cams. We work with Callies and comp cams, a lot of our camshaft stuff. ARP stuff has been sometimes scarce to come by. ARP has been a great partner of ours. We kind of try and stock what we need to for engines. It's been hard to sell a lot of ARP stuff lately just because it's hard to get enough of it. But back here is where we do our powder coating and piston coating. So here's a wheel, I guess we got coating for it's actually for a mega truck project. We're building a mega truck, which is kind of a mini monster truck. We're building a mega truck with Dennis Anderson. If we have time, we'll pop over there and look at that. But we're just powder coating the wheels for that thing as time allows. This is where we do our piston coating. So these are all pistons that have been machined, ready for coating. Liam, that we saw over there at the rod home, does a lot of the piston coating. So this is one that he's got prepped. And we tape it up. We coat down to the top ringland just to kind of help give the piston all the protection that we can. We use a coating let's see, we use this coating here from a company called Techline, and it's called polythen. It's a basically it was designed and derived for like top fuel, and it's a thermal barrier. It's just a protective coating against, just helps protect the substrate under the coating. They claim it also adds efficiency, more combustion efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure some of that's true. Really, is just an extra ounce of prevention on, or if you have an injector failure. It's been a really popular upgrade. Occasionally, we'll also do. Here's a pair of heads. Let's see. Might be able to see these here. We'll do the combustion chambers on heads sometimes too. It's a might increase some of those benefits. Thermal transfer. The less of that combustion energy you absorb into the water jacket, the more of that combustion energy you can keep in the cylinder. In theory, the more efficient it is. But really, it just kind of helps protect the piston. So we do powder coating for. We've had people ship us stuff for powder coating from all over the country. This is our parts room here. We've got lots of SNS stuff, disaster kits for 6.7, CP3s in stock. We've got a lot of big plans with SNS coming up soon. They actually have our shop truck. We have a 6.7 kind of a development truck there at SNS now, putting a full Motec ECU on it. And those guys are real true fuel system experts. So they've been a wonderful, wonderful asset. So this is our order fulfillment station, kind of our boxing packaging station here. We've got a cam kit ready to go out. So each order gets a handful of stickers, gets a packing list, gets a UPS handle with care deal, which may or may not be a benefit. So we recently, I don't know, a year or two ago, invested in a foam machine. We've learned the hard way that it's difficult sometimes to get an 80-pound cylinder head shipped from one side of the country to the other. And so we work with UPS, we work with Instapack and Pack South on trying to basically just improve some of our packaging. And they hooked us up with this foam machine here, which has really helped cut down on our damage and shipping stuff a lot. This is a, basically it's like a two-part foam machine, and this has really helped cut down on our damages a lot. And so it's we ship anything heavy, anything over about 10 or 15 pounds. We'll use this foam stuff for. It works great for cylinder heads, camshafts, flywheels, flex plates. I don't know what else am I forgetting there. What else we use it for? Some fuel system stuff, pumps and stuff. It can be kind of heavy, and so we, this has been a kind of an invaluable machine that has really helped us kind of try and stave off some of the damage claim, damage freight issues that we have. So sometimes, despite our best efforts, it is sometimes impossible to make something UPS proof, but we do the best we can. So we'll come back and finish that in a minute. But up here is our assembly room. This is we've got some of the guys at lunch now, but this is where everything comes up to be final assembled. It's kind of a clean room. So we use these are all heads that are either local machining heads or reman heads, or our new cylinder heads that are all queued up for assembly. So all the heads get assembled here, and then all the engines go down there to be assembled. We've got 3 different engine assembly stations. We assemble engines from start to finish, one assembler from start to finish. We don't really do the assembly line thing where one guy puts the crank in and one guy puts the rods in and one guy puts the heads on, and when something goes wrong, everybody says he did it. We pretty much follow the same standard build sheet for every engine. We'll come back to the engines in a second, but the cylinder heads come up here. It's kind of this room is basically a chance to double check, triple check everything we do in the machining room. And so as we assemble the heads, again, we use a lot of SPI valves. They've been great at custom making parts for us, stuff that didn't exist before. We use a lot of their off-the-shelf parts too. Their keepers, some of their seal. They've made seals for us, so they've been great to work with. These I'll tell you, these black nitrided stainless valves. We've had these in like the Rudy's diesel race truck that have set some records, like 470s in the 8 with an off-the-shelf SPI part. So again, my hat's off to them. They've been excellent to work with. So anyway, these are our Icon heads. We talked about them a little earlier. So we've had our cast iron heads here. These are about 75 pounds, and they've been popular for 6.0, 6.4 for several years now. These have been great. They fix a lot of the issues with the factory heads. They come with valve seat inserts in them, so it alleviates a cracking issue that 6.0s are known for. We O-ring every single one of them to prevent the head gasket issues. These have, just slide this over. These have a, we have some more meat here in the injector bore area. Let's see, we have and there's also more meat, a thicker deck surface, more meat around the injector cup area. The factory heads are notorious for cracking, particularly on these two cylinders. And so these are an aftermarket casting we have made for us. And these are, they solve pretty much all those issues. They work really well and don't really have any issues to speak of with them. And so we got calls for a performance cylinder head. And we wanted to kind of impart some of that newer technology that like the 6.7 Ford uses, 24 valve Cummins Duramax uses with regards to cylinder swirl, high velocity swirl port, and we've got a lot of other tech videos coming down the pipeline for those heads as well. We actually have an article with Engine Builder Magazine all about the development of those Icon heads, so follow Engine Builder Magazine for cool tech stuff like that. But anyway, we offer these heads in an as-cast version, what we call our street port. And so basically what we wanted to do is, prior to these, we used to CNC port the iron heads. There's a lot of limitations to the port. You're limited to basically what is like a factory style casting, and you're limited to a lot of the airflow restrictions and stuff inside of the port. And so we didn't want to just simply do an aluminum copy of the iron head. We wanted to basically do a cylinder head that is going to match the performance of a ported iron head, while also maintaining the cylinder swirl. Cylinder swirl being really, really critical for combustion in a diesel engine, where when the injector fires, you want the injector, not like a gas engine, where a gas engine, the air and fuel, generally speaking, with the exception of relatively new stuff, is direct injected. Carbureted, port injecting stuff has air and fuel comes past the intake valve. In a diesel engine, there's no fuel in the cylinder until just a few degrees before top dead center. And so, when that injector fires, you want the fuel vapor droplets to effectively act like, like a centrifuge traveling across bands of hot swirling air. And so if those fuel vapor droplets run out of oxygen before the fuel is completely consumed, it comes out of the tailpipe as soot. And so what we found is porting the factory heads or a factory style cast iron cylinder head or some other aluminum heads on the market, we found that while you might pick up a few numbers on a flow bench, you kind of sacrifice a lot of cylinder swirl and a lot of combustion efficiency, and it's kind of a net gain. And so with these, we really work to improve the cylinder layout. And I wish we have some cutouts somewhere. We've got other. It's on the website. We've got some cutaways and some cool stuff that shows how we move the ports around. We also added a lot of extra gussets. This is actually a 6.4 head, but it's actually one casting. So when we made the Icon heads, we cast one piece and then we machine it into a 6.0 head or machine it into a 6.4 head. And so these look similar to like a factory 6.4 head with this extra gusseting here around the head bolt holes that helps distribute the clamping load further. And the 6-liter heads look just like this too. This happens to be a 6.4, but other than some of the bolt pattern up here, they're a little different between 6.0 and 6.4, but otherwise they're, like I said, the same casting. And so anyway, we offer a cast iron version, a as cast street port, so we'll start over. We have a cast iron version for a 6.0, 6.4, a aluminum street port, what we call an as cast option. Then we have a CNC ported option that takes this to the next level and offers flow numbers and performance that wasn't previously available with any off-the-shelf casting. So anyway. We also offer new Cummins heads. The Powerstroke stuff for sure is definitely what helped get us started. We stay busiest with keeping up with the Powerstroke stuff, but we also have some Duramax head stuff in the works. We have new Cummins heads available. I think we have 12 valve heads in stock. I think we're out of stock currently on 24 valve. Yeah, but we've got more castings on the way. And so anyway. We sell, like I said, a few thousand cylinder heads a year, and so huge thanks to all of our customers for helping to keep us busy, especially during the last couple of years through COVID. It has been never a dull moment. So, in addition to the cylinder heads, we also sell a few hundred engines a year, and each one we build is basically custom. We have a few different packages that are kind of different starting points. I hate stages, but stage 1, stage 2. This is Kevin. Kevin worked with me for Monster Jam building engines. He works with us now building diesel engines. Looks like he's prepping this one for cylinder heads. This one is a steel piston 6.4.
Yep, we're connecting on steel piston on the 6.7.
Yep.
Get the top with Jessel solid lifters and Jessel rock run system.
Sweet deal. Yeah, so Jessel's been another great partnership that came through some of those relationships from Monster Jam. it is, you know, same with Perillo and a lot of the folks that we know in the industry. We're grateful for the opportunity to work with. So this was, you know, this is one of the things that was released, what, 2020. Basically the 2020 6.7 Fords came with a steel piston in them from the factory, which isn't necessarily new to diesels, but it was new for light or medium duty diesels to come with a steel piston. And so we worked with Perillo to do a custom rod exclusive to KDD that ties that factory 2020 6.7 Ford piston to the 6.4 crankshaft. And so what this does is allows us to run the piston bore size pretty close. It ends up being about 30 over. And so it allows us to run, you know, 6.4s from the factory. Have a lot of issues cracking pistons. Our standard piston that we use in 6.4 is what I call a max force piston, which is the kind of the industrial version of the 6.4. It's an aluminum piston. We don't have any issues with those cracking, but for the guys that were looking at buying connecting rods and stuff anyway, the steel pistons are basically the same cost as the max force pistons, and so it's a kind of a no-brainer. You know, obviously we've never had any issues, you know, with the steel pistons, even at really, really high horsepower. This one, like I said, is going to get outfitted with Jessel lifters. We have an exclusive solid roller Jessel lifter. If you're not familiar with Jessel, you know, like and follow them too. They've, you know, at one point or another, basically provided Valvetrain for all the pro stock engines, all the NASCAR teams. You know, it was a real honor to work with them for bringing, you know, their pedigree to the diesel arena. So we have a forged steel shaft-mounted rocker available for 6.0, 6.4, Duramax, 6.7. Ford. 6.7 Powerstroke, and then we have solid lifters for 6.0, 6.4, 7.3. We have solid lifters coming very, very soon for the 6.7 Ford. We have rockers queued up for machining with Jessel, I believe, for the 24 valve Cummins, and we are still in the design phase for the 7.3 forged rockers with Jessel, but that's all coming very soon too. That's been a huge undertaking. A few years ago, me and a buddy, Jason Yude, who works at Mass Motorsports now. Mass Motorsports was a huge engineering partner on our Icon cylinder heads, and you know, Jason and I threw a bunch of diesel heads in the back of a Suburban and drove up to New Jersey and spent a couple days at Jessel going over a lot of the design features, and have worked hand in glove with them since then. And it's been a great relationship. We're super honored to work with them. So. This will be a pretty nice piece when it's all finished up with the steel pistons, you know, the solid valve train, and Icon heads, I think. So let's see, what's this one here that we got?
That's a stage 2 6.0.
Okay, so here's one that's come through the machining process and has been prepped up for assembly. Long block or ready to run?
That's not good.
Okay, so we've, we started selling long blocks. There's a lot of long blocks on the market. You know, we had customers that would come to us and ask, you know, if I buy the injectors and the turbo from you, can you install them? Like, yeah, sure, we can do that. And so we kind of started offering, you know, we call it ready to run, or like a turnkey, a crate engine package, and those have been pretty popular. We actually sell more of those now than we do long blocks, which is great because, you know, it's the incentive structure there, you know, obviously it's to everyone's best interest to, you know, let's say, you know, a customer has an injector fail and melts a piston in his old engine, and buys a new engine, you know, it's to everyone's best interest for him not to put that same injector back in his new engine. And so, you know, it allows us to offer, you know, a 3-year warranty on the whole package, injectors, turbo, we come with a lot of aftermarket upgrades along the way, you know, BD diesel exhaust manifolds and up pipes, KC turbos, on 6.0 stuff, Warren injectors, on 7.3 full force injectors, and then on everything common rail, SNS injectors come standard with our ready to run packages. And so they've been, they've been really popular. Some of that's on the website, some of it's not. We're still, you know, constantly adding more stuff to the website every day. So if you don't see what you need, you know, give us a call, and I'll be happy to get you all squared away. Let's see, what do we got over here? We've got, let's see, this looks like one of our standard 6.4, you know what this one is?
That's a standard 6.4.
Stage 1. So this is kind of our, basically, stage 1 is kind of like our take on what the factory engine could have, should have been, beefed up for reliability. So we got all of our engines come with new camshafts, new lifters. These come with the Max Force 7-piston standard. And then this one will probably get our iron heads, I believe. All of our engines come standard with ARP studs. This engine here is a colorful piece here that we have for, let's see, I forget, let's see, what's it? This, yeah, okay, so this one is also ready to run. So these come with, in the case of a 6-liter high pressure oil pump, or in the case of a you know, Cummins or 6.4, 6.7, they come with a high pressure fuel pump. Come with DD manifolds standard. We can also do a punch out performance manifold. There is you know, ODOG intake standard. This one has our billet valve covers. So they come complete with, you know, sensors, oil rail. This one will get the oil cooler, and we also offer bulletproof diesel oil coolers and stuff for them. And you know, these get assembled here and tested. Once they're in a long block state, everything comes over here and gets tested on our another RMZ machine here. It's our ETS engine test system. And so this is one that's ready for testing. So this one here is a let's see, a 6.0. Looks like probably a stage 1 6-liter long block build. This one has our you know, kind of our iron heads. This one is ready for ready to be tested. And so this machine, it's not running right now, but this machine pumps heated and filtered oil through the engine while it rotates the engine over and checks for tight spots. It checks rotational resistance in relation to, you know, crank angle or top dead center. We do a compression test on all 8 cylinders. Then it also leak down tests the water jackets and just make sure, you know, there's no pinholes, nothing that escaped our QC process back there. Gives us just a clean bill of health when the engine leaves here. You know, gives the customer a higher level of confidence that you know, the engine, everything was correct, you know, before it left. And this has been an invaluable piece of equipment from RMC that you know, again, gives us, you know, confidence moving forward. So it's a from here, after they get tested there, it will oops, baby, look at a mess. From here, they will go back on the stand and they'll outfit them with the turbo, injectors, manifolds, and everything else. We do have plans for an engine dyno, but that'll have to be another tour. How are we doing on time?
It's 12:50.
12:50? Okay. Yeah. Well, if we got time, we can pop up front real quick. So this is our assembly room. So after everything gets you know, QC'd, assembled, tested, everything gets boxed up, palletized. Just the engines. The engines are just shrink wrapped. You know, and you know, a couple different freight carriers that we use. Most of the cylinder heads ship like UPS Brown. That's just another head assembly station there that we use for, you know, sometimes we'll have 2 assemblers. We got 1 head assembler and 1 other engine assembler. It's at lunch right now. This is an engine while we're here. This is actually an engine for our mud truck. We have mentioned that mud truck project with Dennis. We'll kind of use this as a R&D piece as time allows. We've got some new stuff we're trying out in here with a mega truck we're building with Dennis. This is Chris Parker. Chris Parker has a VP44 12 valve or 24 valve Cummins engine that we are building for him. And Chris Parker, if you're not familiar, he puts on the Diesel Truck Wars event, him and Buddy Calloway, and this is a piece we just finished up for him. We've got a couple more pieces to finish on it. We need to fit his intake manifold here, but otherwise, this engine is pretty much ready to go. This one features new factory rockers. He's not going to be spinning this one real high because of the VP pump, so factory rockers are fine, but it does have billet bridges, our push rods, our head that we've machined and done some light porting to. I think this one has waggler rods in it, and factory piston, but main girdle. But this one here is pretty much ready for. Pretty much, we got to fit the. It's a sheet metal intake that we have to do some fitment on here around the pump and the front cover. But otherwise, this thing's pretty much ready to go. And so follow Diesel Truck Wars, Fueled by Haters on Instagram. They put on an awesome event here, right here in North Carolina, and you know, highly recommend checking them out. So we got time. We'll run up front real quick and show you some of the Gravedigger stuff while we're here. So this is our brother Josh Garcia here. He's JG Shocks, so he does shocks and differentials for some of the, you know, most badass monster trucks and mega trucks on the planet. He's been with Dennis for how long? Forever, basically. I mean, forever. Yeah, forever. Been with Dennis forever. They do some of these giant monster shocks that have what, 26, 30 inches of travel now. 30 max, 26 and 30. Yeah. Yep, so they do, you know, they'll like 26 or even as much as 30 inches of suspension travel. And I've watched him put these things together. It's gypsy magic to me. It's Josh is the guru on shocks and a lot of the driveline components, sway bars and stuff. So JG Shocks is a kind of our roommate here. So we'll walk up front and peek and see what's going on up here.
Old grandma in the background.
Oh yeah, they're actually kind of doing a light restoration on that truck. So during COVID, they moved a lot of the trucks so pre-COVID, monster trucks would come in and out of here in between shows, and they would fix whatever fell off of them at the show before, and get them ready to go out to the next event. They've since moved a lot of those trucks to Florida. So Gravedigger is owned by a company called Feld Entertainment. They're headquartered in Florida, and so they actually own a fleet of like 60 plus trucks. Don't quote me on the exact number, but 60 plus trucks, and they were an awesome opportunity to work for that company. A lot of us, like I said, from Kill Devil Diesel used to work there. There's not many opportunities in motorsports to have a 40-hour-a-week job, with benefits and stuff in the motorsports industry. And learned a lot from them, not just about building engines, but about what it takes to put on a show and what it takes to exist and long term in the motorsports industry. So since then, they've moved a lot of those trucks that were kind of stationed here to Florida, and Dennis is now turning this into basically like a Gravedigger museum. And so it's I don't think they even really knew that we were coming up here to do this, so we're just kind of sneaking in here. This is some project LS. I think you said it was a stick shift, right?
Yeah.
So they are. This is Bog Log. So this is a mega truck. We're building one of these. Probably one in this number. We back? All right. Well, we might not be able to peek in there much without losing service, but anyway, you might be able to peek in. There's a mega truck in there, a Bog Hog. They've got
The mud truck.
yeah. So they're turning this kind of into a bit of a Gravedigger museum, and this is where they run the ride truck out of. So anyway, you'll have to come down here and check it out when it's all done. They'll be, I imagine, probably next summer giving tours. So that is us. Feel free to come by and check us out. We'd love to give you the tour in person. Thank you. Huge thanks again to Engine Builder Magazine. Follow Engine Builder if you're not already. To stay up with the latest on engine technology. And they got stuff for everybody. We're a diesel company, but they got stuff. Like I said, we've done a video or an article with them before, rather, on blown alcohol monster truck engines. They got gas stuff, drag week. They follow it all. So if you're into cars and hot rods and stuff, you need to follow Engine Builder Magazine. Again, SBI, huge thanks for sponsoring this event. We use them. They've been a great partner, and had the opportunity to go check out their facility earlier this year in Nashville, Tennessee, and they have a really amazing facility where they QC all the parts, and where they design and spec out all the parts that they have made. And so anyway, we thank you all for watching. Huge thanks again to Engine Builder Magazine. Thanks to all of our partners, and give us a shout, killdevildiesel.com. Like and follow us. We thank you for watching.